Hello and welcome to WRUW-FM 91.1 Cleveland. You're currently listening to A Different Drum, where the more you love music, the more music you love. I'm your host, Matt Hook. Today I am joined by singer-songwriter Jake Allen. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Jake is a virtuosic acoustic guitarist who can write his own multi-layered rock songs and create unique solo guitar versions of classic tracks. First song we're going to play to introduce you to his style is a track off his latest album, Deviant Motions. This one's called Scorpio. Alright, that song you just heard was Scorpio by Jake Allen off his 2018 album Deviant Motions. Jake is currently joining me today. Thank you so much.
So I'm actually over here in Vilnius, Lithuania, with an art group called Take Me to the River that I'm a part of, and we're here in the capital doing a exhibition that just opened a couple days ago, and I'm part of the group. I'm kind of the the musician component of the group, because it's pretty much all visual artists. So there's painters and people who make mixed media artwork, and I'm the kind of outcast musician of the group. But we've been having a great time here, and had a great opening. And the mayor came out, and the U.S. ambassador for Lithuania. So we're getting into the good graces of the Lithuanian government, and having a great time with these people over here. It's really, really fun.
Oh my God, that's awesome. You're really getting to know the most powerful people in Lithuania. How did you even get approached for that?
Well, I've been part of Take Me to the River, this art group, for probably about 3 years now. And once a year, we go to a different destination in the world, and do an exhibition and a community outreach project, and just other various things within the art scene in any given market. And this is only my second trip with them. The first one was in New Orleans in, I believe, 2016. This is kind of my first big international one with them, and I actually got hooked up with this group through one of the members, who's a good friend of mine, who was originally just a fan of my music and then asked me to join this group, which was a really nice invitation.
So, how is your music integrated with their visual art?
Well, for this particular project, I wrote a song when I got here. We first spent the first week that we were here in a town called Palanga, on the coast of the Baltic Sea. And so I wrote a song out kind of on the sand dunes out there, and spent some time just kind of doing a bit of a writer's retreat. The whole group did out there, or an artist retreat. They were painting, I was writing. And then when we got to the capital, I went and collaborated with a engineer here in Vilnius who has a great studio called Folk Science. And we recorded the track in a day and knocked out a full production, which was a pretty big undertaking for the amount of time that we had. But we did it, we finished it. And then we actually had a videographer from Michigan named Jake Burgess, who I've worked with on many projects. Excellent videographer and director. He did a video for the song that tied into the lyrics. And actually, I almost wrote the song about the video first. The video was created first, and then just kind of tied in all the themes of, coming to another country, and the common threads of humanity all over the world is kind of what it's about. And everything we do in this group is related to water. So there's all of these kind of water themes throughout everybody's work. And this video is very, very driven by imagery of water, and so is the song. So it's a video audio collaboration, and it's on display perpetually on loop in the gallery with the other artwork.
Was this intended to be like a cultural exchange program in Vilnius, or?
Yeah, in a way. I mean, it's their arts culture here. It's the top people in the art scene here who invited us, and said, "Hey, come on over. We'll do some collaborations with Lithuanian artists." So there's some works that are from Lithuanian artists as well as ours, all on display in the same exhibition. It's just kind of a way to showcase the friendship between U.S. and Lithuanian artists. There's a couple in the group who have been here before, and kind of built a foundation for that friendship to blossom. So it's really about celebrating that, and our kind of unity as artists, and really as human beings.
That's incredible. I saw on your tour schedule you're going to China in October. Can you talk a little bit
Yeah,
about that?
so after this, we leave here tomorrow, and we're going to Berlin for about a week to do some fun stuff over there. And I'm gonna try to kind of check out the music scene. And then I think I'm going to take the rail down to Croatia, and just kind of run around Europe for a few more weeks. And then I'm playing a show in Manchester, UK, with a good friend of mine, Becky Langan, who is a great acoustic guitar player, also a Tonewood amp artist, which is a company that I'm sponsored by, and they make a device that adheres to the back of your acoustic guitar and gives you reverbs and delays and all of these effects that actually come out of the sound hole of the guitar. So really cool product. So Becky and I are part of that whole camp. And so we're getting together in her hometown of Manchester and doing a kind of guitar night. So I'll be up there on the September 29th, and then heading back into Amsterdam for a bit, and then flying to China for Takamine, which is the guitar company that I exclusively play their guitars. So they're having me come there and do some performances at a big trade show in Shanghai called Music China, which I guess next to the NAMM show in California every year. It's like the second biggest trade show in the world for music merchandise. And then they're going to take me over to Nakatsugawa, Japan, where I'll visit their headquarters and the whole place where it all started at the foot of Mount Takamine, which will be really cool. And then I have one more show for them in Tokyo, also doing another trade show. So, and then I'll fly back to the States. So I'm literally doing a round the world trip here, which is my first time doing it. So far, it's been a blast, and I've only been out for about 2 weeks. It's going to be about a 2-month run altogether.
Wow, that's cool. And so, what's your first world tour like, Jake? I hope everything's
Well,
going well.
so far it's great. I've really fallen in love with Lithuania and the city of Vilnius. There's a great artist community here, and I played a show there yesterday, and they were talking about maybe having me come do a residency here. So if I can get to spend more time here, that would be really cool. Maybe come back for a few months and write and perform, and so far it's been really really great as far as networking and meeting people and making new friends. And I actually I met I apparently I didn't know it when I was meeting him, but he's one of the biggest rock icons in Lithuania, a musician by the name of Andrius Mamatavos, who I had the pleasure of just kind of running into during our stay in Palanga, and I played for him and got to know his music a little bit. And I didn't really realize it until I got to Vilnius that he's like a god in this country. He's like a rock legend, and I guess he was really speaking up for the people during all of the kind of clashing that they were having with Russia in the past years, because there's kind of always been this tension there, because it used to be part of Russia. So he was kind of the first one to really speak up publicly about it, in in the form of music. So he was kind of like a savior to the people in a way. So meeting him was just a really kind of cool bonus. And I don't know, maybe I'll see him again or play shows with him or something if I come back. That would be pretty cool.
Sounds like an amazing opportunity. So I wanted to shift the discussion a little bit to Deviant Emotions and that song we just played, Scorpio. Can you say what
Yeah.
inspired that track?
Yeah, Scorpio was that one was kind of I had to really push to get that song out. Some songs really come easily, but that one was a product of an artist retreat that I did, actually with my friend Judy, who's part of this art group I'm with. She has a cabin on Lake Michigan in a little town called Arcadia, and she kept encouraging me to go there and to write music. And I kept putting it off and saying that I could just write music at home. I don't need to go anywhere. But she finally talked me into it. So I went there, and I spent about a week there. And right when I got there, I had realized that having all the distractions of my everyday life was kind of stopping me from writing music, and going into this secluded, no distraction zone was really what I needed, because I had kind of gotten to a place where music, I think anything that starts as a passion and then turns into a career, you have to continuously remind yourself of why you're doing what you're doing, and that it's truly out of a passion and a love for it. And you have to kind of forget about all the administrative things sometimes that come along with that musician as a job title. So I really just went there and just realized that I had to return to the source in a way, and I wrote Scorpio about kind of trying to reconnect with that muse or that passion, the original spark that started me on writing music in the first place. So it's trying to get back to that place is really what that song is about.
That's definitely true. I know one thing is always like when your job is something that you love, your life just becomes your job.
Yeah,
So it's hard to have
totally
that
does.
separation. Is that something that
Yeah,
you sometimes struggle with as a musician?
it is. I've talked to some people in the I don't want to say shrinks, but I've talked to some maybe guides who have said that that can cause some weird kind of dynamics in your life when your job truly is your life. Every day that I'm out here is kind of it's kind of like I'm at work, but at the same time, my work is also my play in a way. So yeah, there's definitely that mixture can make things really interesting.
Now, as far as music goes, I know you play fingerstyle guitar, right?
Yeah, partially. I mean, that's part of what I do. I wouldn't say that I'm a full-on fingerstyle guitarist. It's just one of the elements. So, I mean, I could kind of fit into that title or that amp, I suppose, but I sing also. So,
And you use a lot of
um,
electronic effects that like a guy like Andy McKee, for example, would never really use, or a Don Ross wouldn't use.
yeah, yeah. So I might do some stuff that Andy or Don might do also, but I'm also I do looping and I sing and so I kind of integrate things from other genres too. There's a lot of kind of an alternative rock side to what I do, and just kind of a folk storytelling side, and but also progressive rock element. I mean, there's elements of progressive music in what I do also, and then then you go into the side that's the productions, and with the new record, Deviant Motions, it's all full productions. So being a multi instrumentalist, I kind of create these full production pieces in the studio that have drums and bass, keyboards, and all of these really lush production elements. And then I go out when I go out solo, I strip it down and do it in a way that becomes its own thing. So it's the appeal shifts from a sound of a great production to, oh wow, that guy's doing everything by himself as one person. That's kind of the way that it comes off when I do it live solo. But I also have a full band that I go out and play these songs with as they sound on the record too. So there's so many avenues that I take to do what I do, and so many different irons that I have in the fire. So it's really kind of hard to pinpoint, or call it one thing, because it's a variety of all kinds of musical things.
So next I wanted to play a song off your 2015 album, Rearrangements. This is your cover of that Tears for Fears song, The Working Hour. As a Tears for Fears fan, I really love what you did with this. And it's actually the song
Thanks.
that first introduced me to your music, because I was trying to find a version of Tears for Fears that I could copy for solo guitar myself. So anyway,
That's so cool.
here's The Working Hour. All right, that song you just heard was Jake Allen's version of the Tears for Fears classic, The Working Hour. Jake is currently joining me. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
So, why did you decide to cover that song?
Well, I've always had an appreciation for Tears for Fears, and I was a big fan of that record, which that song was on an album called Songs from the Big Chair, and I thought that one was I always thought that one was the most kind of melodic yet eerie in a way. It always gave me this kind of weird feeling when I would listen to it, and I thought it was a little bit under under showcased. Like most people, they know like everybody wants to rule the world or shout, and I thought that song could use a little bit more of a spotlight. The Working Hour, just because I think it's an awesome track, and it's personally my favorite Tears for Fears song. So, and I was up for a challenge because the production, there's a lot going on, so turning it into a loop song was definitely an interesting challenge and a fun one. So just kind of all of those things combined.
Yeah, for sure. Just the layers in that song is just ridiculous. So, how did you approach it? Did you try to mimic every instrument that was on the original Tears for Fears song when you were making it into a looping guitar cover?
Yeah, I try to get at least the really key parts. So the saxophone, there's like a bunch of saxophone soloing in that song. So I think most of the solos at the end, and some things kind of threaded throughout kind of make up for that sax not being there. But I also change arrangements when I do stuff like that sometimes too. So it might take a little bit of a different route sometimes that the record doesn't sound like. So I'm definitely not totally attached to sticking to the exact arrangements or the exact parts, but I do try to include all of the really important stuff.
Have like the basically make sure the spirit of the song and like the main melodies are all intact and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Like
And
take
was
the
that
spirit
in
of the
a?
song and
Oh,
put it in
sorry.
a different body.
And was that? Did you use any altered tunings or anything to achieve that sound? Or
Yeah, definitely. I don't know exactly what tuning it is because I haven't played that song in a while, but it's definitely a weird one. Not definitely not standard.
and for that, was that the kind of thing where you just liked the tuning and decided, hey, let me see if this song works, or did you invent a tuning to fit the song?
Um, I invented the tuning to fit the song. That's pretty much what I do whenever I write. I try to, if I'm writing on guitar, I try to hear what I want to hear before I tune the guitar, and then I tune accordingly. So um, it definitely changes the entire world of the guitar when you do that, and really keeps it interesting for me. 'Cause I'm not really a super linear guy, so I try to try. I guess that translates into my guitar playing and all the alternate tunings and all the different mixed bag of things that I throw into what I do.
Great. And out of curiosity, are you planning on having any new releases anytime soon?
Well, I mean, I just released a track here in Lithuania for this art exhibition, and that was totally unprecedented. I didn't really know that that's what the project would consist of, but it just kind of opened up and flowed in an organic way. So I think I'm gonna be writing for a while, and I'm definitely um, a kind of connoisseur of the format of the album, and I don't know I don't know if I'll ever be a single kind of guy, or just releasing singles. I think I'm going to stick to that kind of album and maybe an EP format. So the cool thing is right now is in the past I've been backed up with material that needs to go on to the next record, and it's like I need to find a home for this song, and I have all the stuff that I wrote a long time ago that isn't on a record yet. So everything's kind of been a melting pot of different timelines, and now I pretty much don't have any new material. There's a couple of little ideas in the works, but there's no full song, so it's kind of this blank canvas right now, which to me is really exciting. And I think that in itself is enough to really kind of get my spark going for writing. And I think I'm going to do a lot of writing out here on the road and in these countries while I'm around, because it's definitely travel is one thing that kind of turns on my muse. So I don't know when it's going to be, but I would say that a new album will definitely be in the works soon, and probably out much faster than it took to create the last one, which was about 5 years. So I think it's going to be a quick process this time, but I can't say exactly when.
Why did it take 5 years for you to make Deviant Motions?
I was juggling a lot during the time. I was snowbirding back and forth between Arizona and Michigan in the beginning, because I was working a kind of sound engineering job out in Arizona, and then I would come back to Michigan and play with my band in the summer, and I was writing songs during all of this time, but I didn't really have a place to just plant myself and record as I did in the past. So it kind of was logistical. It was a logistical thing. And when I came back to Michigan for the summer in 2013, I ended up kind of accidentally falling into playing drums in this funk disco band that ended up taking off and doing really well in Michigan, called the Cookies. And so that was a really strange detour for me, especially given the type of music that I play. To go down this road of playing drums in a funk disco band was kind of foreign, but it did really well, and we were kind of the only ones really doing that type of thing in that area, so we were able to make a really good living at it. And that, I think that distracted me a little bit from my personal career, and so it was finding time in between that and continuing to actually do solo tours amongst all of this. And then I went and toured. I joined the Accidentals, which is a band out of Traverse City, Michigan. That they're on Sony Masterworks label, and it's a duo. Well, it's a three-piece, and the band is fronted by two young ladies who play cello and violin primarily, but they're also all multi-instrumentalists, and they have a great drummer. And they said they called me up actually right as the Cookies ended and said, "Hey Jake, we need a keyboard player." And we love your guitar playing so much. Will you come on the road and play keyboards with us? And I said, okay. So I kind of, went down the road of learning how to be a keyboard player for a while, and played keyboard and guitar in their band. So we toured nonstop for a year. And being on the road with them, I was actually in the final stages of trying to finish Deviant Motions, because up to that point I had collected enough songs to where I was really just in mixing and kind of putting the final polish on everything. So I brought a lot of my studio out on the road with me with the Accidentals, and I would mix in hotel rooms and mix in the car. And it was just, there's always been so much going on over these past 5 years that I've had to find myself in really weird situations, mixing in weird places and time crunches, and so all of the culmination of that was why it took 5 years. And this time I'm going to try to keep my schedule open now, so I can make another album quickly and get a new one out there right away.
It's amazing going from solo acoustic to playing drums in a funk band, and then playing keys in a cello violin duo. That's how do you like go from all these different avenues just musically?
Uh, well, I think I think in order to be an independent musician and actually have that as your job and make a living, you have to be versatile and you have to do a lot of different things and some things that you might not want to do. So for me, it's really out of obligation because I like to eat food and I like to pay rent. So sometimes I just take on I put on new hats and I do whatever I need to do to do a job that's on the table or create a job that needs to be made or whatever it takes. It's just important to have a lot of irons in the fire.
Mm. And especially because you're in northern Michigan, right, which is a fairly rural area. So I wouldn't expect there to be as many opportunities there for music as there would be in like Detroit, for example.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about it up there is that there's actually a crazy abundance of talent and a pretty vibrant music scene. There's a lot of great festivals that happen in northern Michigan, and the one thing that's really been driving the music scenes lately is the opening of all these new breweries, because that's becoming a really big thing, not only in northern Michigan but everywhere. But that's really feeding the scene, and actually, artists are kind of coming out of the woodwork up there, and there's a lot of talent. So I would say that the opportunities up there are growing. But me personally, I spend a lot of time away from there. Northern Michigan is kind of it's like my sanctuary that I always return to, but I'm always kind of traveling around, mainly the states and now internationally. So I try to plant myself in different markets and build a lot of relationships all over the country, and that's been a really really advantageous path for me so far. And the great thing about it is I get to meet so many people, and I have these surrogate families in all these different towns that they're always asking me when I'm coming back, and I'm just very grateful to be able to have music as a tool to go and do that. Because I was actually just thinking about that the other day here in Lithuania. I was just thinking how cool it was that because I'm able to do the solo act and play guitar and sing in the way that I do, I'm able to go to these places and meet these people, and I feel really grateful for that, and very fortunate, and I wish that other people will find something that they're passionate about that can let them travel and or do the things that they want to do because of that talent or that skill that they have.
All right, great. Thanks so much for coming on the show. It was great to have you. Anything else you'd like to say to our listeners?
No, I think that's about it. I hope to come and play in Cleveland awfully soon, which might be in the books when I get back in November or December. We're talking about doing some regional shows with the full band, and maybe hitting Cleveland on one of those runs. So definitely keep an eye out, and stay tuned on jakeallenmusic.com if you want to keep up with the tour schedule or go check out any videos or any music or anything like that. That's kind of the one cohesive place to go find everything. It's jakeallenmusic.com.
All right, that's great. Good to hear you'll have a Cleveland date in the future. Feel free to stop by WRUW when you're in town. Thanks again so much, and stay tuned for more music. Again, this was Jake Allen, singer-songwriter.